Myths in the Fire General Corin stood alone on the observation deck of Drill Station, watching the sky split open like torn fabric. Fire bloomed in the cold vacuum, silent, but terrifying. It was real now. The stories weren't just ancient legends, or dusty hallucinations. They were true. The black ships had come, no banners. No warnings, a trembling voice muttered behind him. A control officer, young and wide-eyed, gripped the console like a lifeline. "Sir, there's no signal. They're not hailing us." Corin's throat was dry. He couldn't speak for a moment. His triple hearts pounded with a dull ache. They should have listened. For cycles, he had spoken of the old texts, the ancient destroyers with 2 legs and burning eyes. They had scorched systems and vanished into deep space. Everyone had laughed. Now no one was laughing. The first kinetic strike slammed into Drell's outer defense ring. It passed through 3 layers of shielding, like they weren't even there. Debris scattered in a glowing arc. The second strike hit closer, ripping through the station's hangar and tearing it open like paper. "Contact. We've got contact," shouted another officer. I don't understand. No radiation, no heat, just metal and force." Another tremble, then silence. Not a peaceful silence. A choking one. "Sir, there's a message coming through." Corin turned slowly. "Play it." A low, static-wrapped voice filled the chamber. It was rough, unfiltered. It spoke without needing translation. The words hit like gunfire. "You forgot us." A pause. The weight of history hung in those 3 words. "We didn't forget you. We just had better things to do. Until now." Then the channel went dead, and the bombardment resumed. On the main display, Corin stared at the fleet formation. It was surgical tight, clean, not showy like pirates or warlords. These weren't raiders. They were something worse. Something old. Something human. The emblem flashed briefly on one of the ships, a black triangle over a red field. Crude. And stained, not a flag. A warning. "General Corin," a young officer called out, her voice cracking. "The echelon carrier Virix is down. Total loss. 3,000 souls." He gritted his mandibles and stepped forward. "Send emergency signal. Primer cord level 7. "But, sir, that's conscription protocol. Total mobilization. Do it. We're not in a drill. We're not in diplomacy. We're in history. And we're losing." The silence that came after Commander Grant stood at the bridge of the ISS Helldiver, arms folded behind his back. He didn't speak often. He didn't need to. His officers knew the mission. Strike, vanish, strike again. The Galactic Accord had softened over centuries. Diplomacy, protocol, trade routes, treaties. They had forgotten what war truly was. 3. "Defense stations down," Lieutenant Marlowe said, her voice calm. "No counteroffensive. They're still scrambling for orders." "They think we're rebels," Grant said. "Or pirates. Should we correct them?" "No, let them guess. Let fear do the talking." Meanwhile, on Arden F, defense commander, Kellen watched fire streak across the morning sky. Blue light arced from orbit, hammering down into the mountains. The whole city's vanished dot in the bunker below. He turned to his aide. "I want eyes inside that fleet. Anyone who knows their tactics, even myths." "There's one," the aide replied. "Smuggler. Name's Arden. He's in our brig. Been shouting about ghost ships for years." Kellen didn't hesitate. "Bring him." They dragged Arden into the bunker, still reeking of rum and sweat. "I told you," Arden mumbled, wiping his mouth. "They weren't dead. Just waiting. You've seen these ships?" Kellen asked. "I ran into them 3 years ago near the rim. Thought it was a hallucination until one of their drones asked me to confess." "Confess?" Arden nodded. Grimly. "They weren't scanning my ship. They were scanning me. These aren't peacekeepers. They're survivors. They remember every name you erased from the archives." Kellen swallowed hard. "And what do they call themselves?" "United. Human systems. But it's not a government. It's a crusade. Awakening the old fire on board the Helldiver, red lights pulsed in the cryocamber bay. Rows of old pods hissed as thick vapor escaped. Inside, the first-generation Terran soldiers stirred frozen for centuries. Awakened at last, Commander Grant watched through the frost-covered glass. These weren't clones. These were veterans. Warriors from humanity's Exodus campaign. The first man stepped out, his body twitching with reactivation. Scarred, silent, eyes sharp. Name? Stryker. Welcome back. Stryker didn't smile. Is it true? He asked. The Accord still lives? Grant nodded. And they erased your name from every record. Stryker clenched his fists. Then we remind them. Across the Accord's central archives, a junior archivist named Daryl finally accessed a file buried under 17 levels of clearance. It read, Phantom Directive. Humanity must not remember what it was. He ran to the council. They ignored him. History was about to correct itself with fire. The fall of Valdros. Humans chose Valdros for one reason. It was built on top of a Terran graveyard. Stryker led the ground assault. His team landed like thunder, using old-school drop pods, instead of energy shields. They fought through Accord defenses with knives, railguns, and bare fists. No speeches. No warnings. Kellen watched from command, stunned. They're laughing. They're not soldiers, one officer whispered. They're hunters. Kellen ordered reinforcements. Too late. Stryker and his team planted a massive war monument in the center of the city, a spike made from melted Accord alloy. At its base was a single line. We remember what you forgot. At the same time, a signal burst from the Helldiver. Deep Space responded. Other fleets. Other signals. They weren't alone. The myth was spreading. Part 5. We are what you buried. The Accord launched counterstrikes. Entire fleets. Planetary defenses. Orbital mines? None of it mattered. Human ships cut through them with cold precision. Not just with power, but with memory. Every blast, every target, was chosen with historical weight. The fleet didn't want land. They wanted recognition. They wanted the Accord to say their name. Stryker stood over the burned ruins of Valdros. Kellen, bleeding and defeated, looked up at him. Why now? Because your peace was built on forgetting us, Stryker said. But we never forgot you. In the capital, Daryl finally got through to the High Council. He handed them the truth, the purge, the exile, the Phantom Directive. The council collapsed into panic. Back on the Helldiver. Commander Grant gave the final transmission. We don't want your throne. We want your fear. We want you to remember what happens when you bury fire. Fire doesn't die. Fire waits. The signal ended. Above the galaxy, red engines burned as more human fleets arrived, silent, relentless, real. Myth had come back, and it brought war,